everybody, this is Jim Buck with Black Series Camper from Southern California, out of the City of Industry. Today, we're gonna go over the assembly of our classic double, our largest tent trailer to date. And this thing is awesome. It's got a lot of room, so you can fit your family, your kids, your dogs, whatever you got. Tons of living space. Let's get into this, let's put it together. So first and foremost, one of the first things we want to make sure that we're going to do is we want to level our trailer. So as you can see, I've already set my front legs and I have also set my rear legs on the back over here. So that's the first thing you want to do. You want to make sure that your vehicle is level, or at least as level as you can get it, okay? Then what we're going to do is we're going to go to pulling out the pins. We want to release the cage. The cage is going to be carrying all of our equipment, all our extra gear. So very easily, you just pull the pin. Right now, I'm just gonna set it here on top. I got one more back here I'm gonna pull. Now, once I've done that, what I can do is I can release that lever. I can release this lever. And like you probably seen me do before, just give it a push. Now I'm gonna go over, I'm gonna pull it over the rest of the way, but that's all you can do. If you want, push it hard, it'll go all the way, or it'll just do that. Now, one of the other things that you can do is you can also pull out the pins to lower the spare tires. You do need to get the spare tires lowered up, down out of the way, because you're gonna be dropping down the rear of the trailer, okay? So I'm gonna release this clip. We're gonna come around, we're gonna do the other side. All right, and then you're gonna push this down. Now it's not a shock assist, so it's not too terribly hard to do it. Okay, so now that we've done the cage, we've got the back lowered, now what we want to do is go around and we want to pull all the clips for the hooks that hold down the doors. Now we've already kind of undone all of them because you don't need to see me pull out a whole bunch of pins. So we're going to do out these last couple ones. I'm going to go ahead and release these. And then what we want to do is we want to make sure we take all of our pins and put them in a safe place. Remember, these are what's going to be helping to keep your doors locked down, unless you put on a regular lock, which you can do because these openings are large enough to do a regular lock if you like. So I usually like to put it in one of the cabinets. So up in here, I'm going to put it in the front cabinet in the drawer where I put all the other ones already, okay? And we can get into this later on for cabinets. So now we have everything released. We got the doors released. We have the back support. So as you can see here, there's a rubber strip right along here. So this is gonna be the back support for the rear door, which is gonna be one of the queen size beds. Again, there's 2 queen size beds, technically 3 queen size beds when you include the padded seat. Now, if you look up front here, this front door is gonna fold over and it's gonna hit here. Keep in mind, there is going to be 2 doors. There's not one door like you find on our Dominators and Patrons. So it actually makes it a little bit easier. So you're not gonna find the ratchet on this unit like you find with the Dominators and the Patrons. So it's actually a little bit easier to open up. So if you look here, there's actually a lip that overlaps each other. So that helps really well with a lot of keeping water out and dirt and dust while you're going down the road. So you can see it's already ready to go. It's ready to pop up. So all you're gonna do is very easy. You're gonna start pushing it up and you're gonna open it up and you're gonna push it over all the way. So now that I have this open, what I'm gonna do is there's actually a hook right here and you can latch it on this. So that way you put it up there, you latch it on, it helps keep it. So that way in place, that way it's not lifting up, raising up, maybe it's some strong winds, which I don't know why you'd be camping out in like hurricane winds, but you never know for that adventurous type that's out there. So we're gonna go ahead and put these both down and it's gonna help put it in place. Now, this one's a little bit long, so I'm gonna screw this in just a little bit. I'm gonna run in the threads, so that way we can make it tighter, okay? So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go raise up the backside as well. So as you can see, just by opening up the one door, we've already got a lot of our structure actually popped up already. And that's the nice part about our tent trailers is once you start opening them, because of the bars already in place, they start to open up. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna open up the second door so that way we can open up a little bit more of our tent. Now, once you get this open, kind of like the other side, but now the latch that was holding this in place is now gonna hold this in place. Oops, I gotta pull out a pin. I forgot to pull the pin out. There we go, because I put it back in place. Now let's do the other side. All right, so now that we have both lids open, now we need to open it up with our key. And make sure you don't lose this key because it's got a special little design to it to get it open. So we're gonna come over here, we're gonna twist this, and we're gonna twist this. Now you wanna be very careful when you're lowering this, okay? Because you can pinch your fingers. So when you come down with it, usually what I'll do is I will grab this bar right here, but see, like I said, you gotta be careful with it. So as you come down with it, that spool is down, and you just adjust it so that way you have your steps level. Now we're gonna step in here, and before we go too far, I want you to make sure that you're paying attention, close attention, to where the pads are set, how everything is stored inside of here. Because if you don't have it set correctly when you go to put it all away, you're not gonna be able to get your lids closed. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and turn on my lights. We're gonna step inside, so that way, we can see everything that's going on in here. So now that we have the unit open, what I wanted to make sure that you guys are understanding or aware of is these poles. These poles stay connected, and these are what's going to start the formation of your tent. Now, here's the problem. When you close it up, all of these poles and all this tent material is going to go into this box. This is the living space. This is the trailer part. Now, if you look right here, pay very special attention to how all the pads are laid out. Now you don't need to follow this exact design, but you do need to make sure you leave space here on the edges. Because if you notice, when this folds down, it's gonna occupy this space. So what happens quite often, if you're not familiar, you're not paying attention, you put the pads over here, and when you try to close stuff down, the pads won't allow it to shut completely. All right, and we want to make sure we get the lids closed up completely, so that way we're keeping out the dust, we're keeping out rainwater, we're keeping all that stuff. All right, now once we do that, I'm going to pull these pads out of the way here so that we can kind of see a little bit. So what's going to happen is, if you look here, we have 2 tables. This unit has such a large living space, it has 2 tables with it. Now, these tables also make another bed. We have a queen bed there, we got a queen bed here, and we have a very large, almost like a queen size bed here being made with the pads. All right, and now part of what the tables are doing is they're also hiding the materials or the walls, the annex pieces that are actually underneath the table. Okay, so that becomes your storage area. So when you are packing up the unit, you're going to put your walls, the roof, the whole annex, everything that's going to hook up to it, it's all going to go underneath the tables. Pads go on top. Everything folds back in nice and secure, keeping everything nice and dry and clean and dust free in here as you travel down the road. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna remove all of the pads, or we can leave them in here, whichever you wanna do, but we're gonna remove the tables, all the extra wall pieces, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna get into setting up the rest of the poles and getting them extended. So now that we've got all of the extra pieces removed from the inside of their trailer, what I like to do is I like to get out all my support poles. So we're gonna come up to our front compartment and we're gonna get it open. Now the thing is about this compartment is it's much larger than on our Patron or in our Dominator. And so instead of having 2 separate drawers, we actually have it all put together in one. So we have our pull-out drawer, and then we have a double shelf right here. So there's actually 2 bags of poles that come with this unit. So you can separate it into inside poles and outside poles for our annex and everything. But there are a lot of poles that do come with this unit. So what I'll do typically is I'll go ahead, I'll pull the bag out a little bit, and then I'll kind of unzip it and I'll see what I can find. I'll pull out the poles that I need. And then what I like to do is I like to get them all set inside and put them where they need to go. Now, how do I know what I need to do? Well, that's very easy. I look right over here where we have our pole guide. And so the black poles on the drawing are gonna be the support poles for inside the tent, while the red poles are gonna be supports that are gonna build our annex later on. So I'm gonna go ahead and get all our poles separated out and get them set inside, and then I'll meet you back inside to set up our tent. Okay, so now that we've got our poles, we got everything situated where we want to go, now we need to extend our poles out. Now, one of the little secrets I kind of found, or at least what I like to do, is I like to use kind of a cheater pole. So what I'll do is I'll get my extension pole that's gonna attach to the back, that's gonna attach to the top up here. And what I'll do is I'll go ahead and I'll attach it. And once again, I'm making sure I have the wing nut close to me so that way I can still access it. And I'm gonna hook up the other one over here as well, okay? Now what I do is I'm gonna take an extra pole. It doesn't matter which one. I just grabbed a number 8 pole here, which is gonna be for the outside. And I'll hook up one end and I'll hook up the other end. And the reason why I do this is because it sometimes is very frustrating when you crawl back up in there and you start trying to shove it out and push it out so that way make sure it's even. Sometimes maybe your arm can't reach far enough. Sometimes you end up with uneven, and it's really kind of aggravating at times. So I found this way, and amongst all my shows and stuff I did, I found that this kind of works the best. So now I kind of have a whole little, modular setup. And so what I do is I just push in one spot. Now I'm holding it in one spot. I reach over, I tighten a wing nut, I tighten a wing nut. Now this will still drop back down because I still need to put in the bottom supports that hold this up. But as you may have been able to see, I have this completely extended now and both sides are gonna be even. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my extension rods, hook it up to the top, but I'm gonna leave the wing nut loose, and I'm gonna go ahead and install my supports that help hold this up high. Okay, so I got the extension poles pushed out and I needed to put in the corner support poles. So if you look right here, if you can see, there's a pouch. So the end with the plastic footing will go into the pouch. So what I do is I'll slide it in and then I'll loosen the wing nut, I'll extend it up, I'll plug it into the pole, and then I'll just separate the two, and then I tighten it, I hold it in place, and I tighten it. And then that way I get a nice square corner once I have both sides set up. So we can go back around and we can look at the inside, you see how squared off and how nice and tall this area is. So from this side, if you look, you can see how we've squared off the back corner really well. We have our 2 support poles raising it up. We have the extension of the center poles that are connected. And then we have our number 10 poles in place, but remember, leaving the wing nuts loose. Because when I go to extend this pole, if we tighten that, those poles will fall out of place. So we're gonna leave those loose until we get everything else extended. Now, another thing I'd like to point out, you may notice, I'm starting on the end. And so what I'm actually gonna do, I'm gonna go to the other end as well, and I'm gonna do the exact same thing over there I did here. I like to start at the ends, that way my ends are started out, they're squared off, and then everything gets extended up into the middle. So we work from the outside in. Okay, so now that I have the other end extended and raised up as well, now I'm coming back and I'm gonna raise up the next section. Now, the support poles that go from this pole to the center, to the top, is pole number 11. Now, the problem with pole number 11 is it's quite long, so it's kind of hard to do the hack, okay, to make it a little bit easier. Now, this is a little bit more easy to access. I could stand up easy enough and push it up, but again, sometimes you still run into that little problem of unevenness. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set my number 11 poles off to the side, and I'm gonna cheat and use the number 12 poles. Because as you can see, a number 12 pole is about half the length. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a number 12 pole, hook it in, hook in on the other side, and then I'm gonna take my number 8 pole again, and I'm gonna hook it in, and hook it in. And then what I'm gonna do, get up nice and close, and I'm gonna lift up, reach over, tighten a wing nut, and reach over and tighten a wing nut. And then once I'm done with that, dismantle the assembly, take off the number 12 pole, take off this number 12 pole, and then we're gonna put the number 11 poles back in place where they belong and hook it up to the top. Okay, so now that we raised up the other side, we've connected those poles. So now I'm gonna raise this side. Now this one, I have a nice clear bench I can get to. I can get my hand on this easy enough, so I don't really need to do my hack. But what I am gonna do, and if you have to do the hack, you can do the hack, but I'm tall enough, I got it right here, so I'm just gonna do it. So I'm just gonna push it up, raise it up to its extension. I'm gonna reach over, tighten a wing nut, switch hands, tighten a wing nut, and that one's done. So now all I gotta do is I just need to take the number 12s right here, and the number 12s are gonna connect from the corner to the corner. Now the next one we're gonna be doing, that's gonna be our centerpiece. So it's gonna be the tallest one. So again, I might go ahead and utilize my hack using the shorter number 12s because this does have a much higher roof than most of our other units. Okay, so just really quick, just as a fair example of how tall the classic double is. Again, one of the best tent trailers around. So again, I'm pretty tall, I'm 6'1". I'm gonna extend as high as I can go. And if you notice, I'm nowhere near at the height of this unit. So even I am gonna have to use a life hack or use our pole hack so I can get the full extension out of our unit. So we have the full roof line that this unit truly has. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and take the number 12 poles, which the number 12s are gonna connect to here and go up to that other section over there. So I'm gonna go ahead and hook this in. Again, it's just a simple push on, no big deal. And I'm gonna grab my other 12 number pole and I'm gonna put that in. And again, very quickly, if you notice, I took a quick look. I wanna make sure I have my wing nuts accessible to me. So I have it on the inside. That way when I'm holding stuff, I can reach over and grab it very easily. I'm not trying to reach around anything. So I'm gonna take my rusty trusty number 8 pole, clip it in. Now I'm gonna have to extend it a little bit. Clip it in. There we go. And then very simply, we're gonna raise it up to the extent, tighten that, and we're gonna tighten this. There we go. Now again, you can see how much high I got my fingertips on the pole. So it is a really high unit. It actually is one of the rare units, actually makes me feel on the short side. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and dismantle this, and I'm gonna put my number 12 poles in place, and then we're gonna work on extending our poles out and getting our tent nice and tight in place. So now that we've got all of our sections extended, now what we need to do is we need to go back through to our extension poles, to our support poles, and we need to make sure we tighten them all up and tighten up our wing nuts. Because remember, we've installed them all, but we left all of our wing nuts loose. So we're gonna go through and finish that up. Okay, so now that we have everything put to place, we have all the wing nuts tightened up, I brought in the tables. Now, one of the nice features of the classic double, as opposed to the other smaller tent trailers, is it has 2 tables. So that way you have plenty of room for everyone who's there camping with you to sit inside and sit at a table and eat. And you can even change your configuration around if you need to. I have them both in length here. You can probably turn them a little bit sideways if you needed to, or whatever you needed to. Now, these are still on the lower side. I do have this one raised up a little bit because each of the legs are adjustable. So you can raise it up more if you need to, especially if you need some leg room. Or you can keep it low if you have a bunch of little kids. You can even, like I said, turn the table sideways and have a whole row of kids there along the backside. But again, this is one of our largest units. This is our largest tent trailer. It can sleep up to 6 people. So we have our large bed over there, we got a large bed over here, and then this right here, utilizing the tables, creates another large bed. So if you have a bunch of small kids, you can probably fit several sleepers in the area. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and get the tables folded up, and we're gonna start putting it together in a bed so we can show you all the bed configurations. Okay, so I have one of the tables put in position. So just as a matter of reference, you know which way we're going. When I was sitting down, the tables were in line like this, but we need the width. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna turn the table this way, and you're gonna collapse the legs. Give that a push, fold that down. Now I can see there's quite a large gap right here, so that tells me this is the legs that should close second. So I'm gonna open this one back up, and I'm gonna push this one. Sorry about that. And so we're gonna go ahead and close this one down. So now you see how it fits nice and flush, okay? So then what you're gonna do is you're gonna take this table, you have to lift up the pad so that way you expose it, and you see a wooden track right along here. So I'm gonna tuck this under the one pad because there's also the same track on the other side. I'm gonna lift up the one pad and I'm gonna get the edge put on it. Now, it fits nice and secure. So this is gonna be your solid base. Okay, so now what we have these extra pads that come with the units. So these pads are actually gonna fill in this space. Now they fit kind of tight and they're kind of snug. So you kind of push one up and get it squeezed in place, get it all pushed down. There we go. And then you take the second one and you do the exact same thing. You get that, you push that into place, push forward, snug it down. Now, if you look, from that whole area all the way to here is a sleeping area. Now, if you have a bunch of little kids, you can fill this whole area. If you have a couple of taller teens, you can sleep them this way. 1 or 2 people, 3 people if they want to snuggle up together. But there's plenty of room between all of the sleeping areas and this added area. Again, the classic double, the best unit for your money when it comes to camping a lot of people for a larger family. Okay, so now that we've completed the installation and the extension of all of the poles that are inside, now we're just gonna kind of finish buttoning everything up. Now, just for filming's sake, for being able to see and everything, what we did do is we initially rolled up the side and left it wide open. Now, obviously, you're not necessarily gonna leave it like that camping all the time, especially when you're folding it up, because the rolls do make it a little bit harder to fold over. So I'm not gonna go ahead and close it up now, but just know that this would be rolled down, and what you would do is, here's your zipper right here. So this would zip down, and then you have other areas where it might Velcro in place or snap in place. So I'm gonna come over here to where our door is. As you can see here, here's one of our walls where our door is. And you see this actually will snap in place, and it has Velcro on it, and it actually will go across the door as well. Because in the end process, when we put up, later on, when we put up the whole room, the whole annex, that's gonna Velcro in different places. And this is also part of the Velcro for this door to help close as well. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and start pulling everything tight, adjusting all of our Velcro. So this will go around the pole, maybe start unzipping some of my windows. Because see, then what I also like to do, this little tip I like to do, instead of starting at the bottom and rolling all the way up, you're gonna do half of it anyway. So I'll halvesy it, and then I'll grab it, and then I'll roll this. That way I don't have to roll the whole thing. So I'll get it rolled up, I'll pull down the little strap, I'll clip that in place, do the other one, and then to help protect the window and keep it dry, I make sure that it gets tucked underneath the cover. That way if there is rain, it stays clean, stays dry. Then I'm gonna come around to the back over here. Now the back does have little folds that you see lift up and does expose this stuff. So I just give it a good little tug and pull it over the edges. And that's gonna help pull things out, pull things straight. So make sure that you get both sides, because it does do it. It comes off on both sides. Then what I'm gonna do is we're gonna start opening up our windows. Now the front windows don't have awnings. The rear windows, or the end windows, I should say, on this end, the other end, and along the back side, all have awning poles. So as you can see here, this lifts up. It's even got a little side cover. Now you can lift up the side cover if you need to roll this up, or this would come down and act as a side shade. So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and set up all of the awnings on all of these windows. So now that we've cinched down all of our corners, we've unzipped, maybe opened our windows. Again, if you want to, you don't have to. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set up our window awnings. So that way, if we have rain coming in, the awnings help keep it clear from your windows. It helps to block the sun, and it helps keep the unit cool when you're in there during the hot summer day. So I'm gonna go back to my map, find out what poles I need. So I know for this one, for the end one, I know I'm gonna need a number 13 pole, and I'm gonna need a number 14 pole. Now again, each unit and each window might be different. So for instance, on this one, it takes a number 14 pole as a crossbar, whereas all the windows along the back take a number 13 pole, or excuse me, not a 13, a 15 pole. So look on your map, find out what you need to put in place. Now there's a couple different ways you can do it. I'm gonna show you both ways. On this one I'll demonstrate, the other one I'll show you. So what you wanna do is find the grommet at the bottom of the pocket, and you're gonna have a curved hook. Now the curved hook is gonna go through that grommet, and behind it is a pocket. And you wanna make sure that the hook goes into that pocket, kind of like that. Let me see if you can see it here. Kind of like that. And what that does is it keeps it from hitting the paint. That way you're not scratching up your paint job. Now, what you do is you take the pole, you feed it through the hole. So you have a straight piece right here, you got a hole in this, you feed it in, and then what you do is you take it and you put the pin over with the tent, with the upper grommet. Then you come over here, and I've already put this pole in place, but now I need to remove it so I can put the other pin in place. Now, it's not straightened up because I haven't loosened my wing nut. So I'm gonna loosen my wing nut, straighten that up so I can put this on here, and then I'm gonna put the grommet on there. Now all I gotta do is straighten it out and tighten it up. So I'm gonna push it out, make sure your tent flap gets put up on top, and then you're gonna tighten it up. So you tighten it up as much as you can, tighten up your wing nut. So now you have your crossbar in place. So I'm gonna come down here, I can lower this down, I can raise this up. Now it's already kind of high, I can see if I can lower this down a little bit, but it wants to pull it up. So I'm gonna go ahead and lower it down like this, okay, for the extension of the pipe. So now we have one of our window awnings in place, right? So this is with it installed underneath the tent. So if you come over this way, on all these other windows, on the side windows, you can do it one of either way, I put the pole up on top. I have a tendency to do this. I kind of prefer this method, but that's just me. You can do whichever method you'd like. You can go underneath and kind of keep it more of a clean look, or you can do it up on top, makes it easier. At least for me, it makes it easier. That's how I like to do it. So now we have all of our windows set up. So again, like I said, it's gonna protect us from the rain. So even if it starts raining and your window's open, it's not a problem. The awnings help cover that. And it helps with sun. We have the sun, that late afternoon sun coming in, beating on it. This helps to keep the sun closed while still, or it keeps the sun out of the windows while still allowing airflow through your tent. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, the assembly of our classic double. So be sure to make sure you watch out for our next videos where we're gonna be going over actually putting in the awning, and then we're gonna be building the room around that as well. So keep an eye out there for our library. We're putting everything together. We're gonna be putting it out there, and keep watching for all of our fantastic products that we're gonna be putting together. Again, this is Jim Buck with Black Series Camper, Southern California, the City of Industry, with the classic double, the biggest one that we got for a tent trailer. Take care, everybody. We'll see you out there.